Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot to talk about today with some big dev confirmations and discussions heading into Phase 2 with an interesting update on Dual Spec, the very next raid and Season of Discovery, gear progression, community comments, and so much more. My name is Sky from the Comeback Kids. This is your Season of Discovery news. Sit down, grab a cup of coffee. We got a lot to discuss today. Of course, within World of Warcraft, PvP is easily one of the most entertaining features. Whether it be dueling solo, massive open world battles, or even instance battlegrounds, slaying the opposing faction is really just so entertaining. I mean, man, even in Season of Discovery, we're even getting open world events such as the Battle for Ashenvale event and the Phase 2 event, which was already confirmed to be located within Stranglethorn Vale. Now, even though it's fun, I still feel like we can still get a bit more in terms of rewards for our character for PvP. And it seems like I'm not the only one who feels this way. We had a user over on the forums post a discussion about how the devs should add more PvP gear for all specs inside the game. He asks, where is the new PvP gear for specs like Boomkin or Elemental Shaman? Where is any new PvP gear? Season of Discovery is more like Season of same old, same old. Now, listen, I would definitely disagree about Season of Discovery being the same old, but I will, however, agree with him that it does feel like we are missing gear for other specs in terms of PvP rewards. For example, as you can see on screen here, the rewards for the Warsong reputation are pretty solid weapons if you manage to get your hands on them. The problem is not all these weapons are great for every class spec out there. For example, Enhancement Shamans are missing a slow one-handed weapon. Warriors and Hunters are missing a viable two-handed weapon option. Feral Druids are stuck using a staff. I mean, not only that, when the next phase comes out, we're able to farm out the Arathi Basin rep as well. We only get a few pieces of gear from this, though, such as the belt, boots, and a trinket. I just feel like with how much PvP is being featured as a main source of content inside of SOD, shouldn't we get a ton of really good rewards for us to grind out and work toward? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I would really love to log in every day and grind some honor points to then use at a vendor to start buying pieces of a PvP set, with even weapons being associated with reaching PvP rank 5 or 6, whatever the max rank may be next phase. I also just want to flat out say that I thought the idea for having the PvP resilience for Warsong Gulch was interesting in a way, but I think at the end of the day, the classic player base wants nothing to do with resilience, and they would much rather just have PvP gear have bonus stamina attached to it. What a lot of people don't want to see, including myself, is the need to wear PvP gear to actually do PvP, and vice versa with having to wear PvE gear to do raids and PvE content. One thing that makes Classic so unique is that you can do all relevant content with whatever gear you obtain that makes your character stronger, and that's one thing that they should definitely not forget. So what do you guys think? Do you think that next phase they should add some more PvP-based rewards? Do you think they should add an entire PvP set with maybe new weapons as well due to how much PvP is being featured? Let me know about it in the comments section below, because I'm all for it. Speaking of some welcome changes from the community, I mean, what about Dual Spec? Considering that level 40 brings tons of new talents, abilities, rune combinations, and now even more runes being implemented, it's going to be crucial that we truly experience the essence of Season of Discovery with having more flexibility within our character whenever we'd like to. I mean, look at classes that have multiple role types that require a variety of different gear like Druids, Shamans, or even Paladins. I think one of the greatest reasons to play a hybrid class is really having the ability to flex and play whatever your group would require you to play. This is easily the most heavily requested feature within our comments section and on the forums, and it seems that we're getting more and more teases that it may be coming soon. Over on Twitter, we had a user asking if we can please get Dual Spec later on in Season of Discovery, and this was actually liked by Agrin, the head director for Classic Season of Discovery. Not only that, it was mentioned in an interview with multiple developers that it's a very strong consideration that it could be coming. I mean, could you picture how fun it would be if you're out in the open world or inside of a dungeon and you could just change your gear, your runes, and even swap out to another spec all on the go to cater and play to however you want? I don't know about all you, but I'm in desperate need of having a dual spec as an option for the next phase, and I'm definitely willing to pay gold for it. Speaking of spending gold on character progression, when it comes to mounts coming inside of Phase 2, we were told by developers in an early interview over at BlizzCon that they could be potentially changing the prices for mounts to make it much more easily accessible and not so much of a grind to the player base. Well, lo and behold, I guess this is something that is already in effect. I mean, if you go right now to your riding trainer and mount salesman, you can see that the prices for mounts are roughly about 50% cheaper, with the training being previously 20 gold and buying your mount 100 gold, which now you can see on screen here, the cost for the actual mount being roughly around 40 gold, depending on your reputation, as well as the riding skill being cut in half, now being reduced to now 9 gold. So altogether, you are looking at about roughly anywhere between 45 to 50 gold to acquire your mount next phase, which is a massive difference to what we are normally used to in Classic. So it seems like we're going to be saving a nice chunk of change, and let's just hope that it's for good reason, and they add an additional gold dump such as dual spec next phase. Okay, now onto the major headline of today. In our previous news video, we had a major open discussion about how we think Gnomergan should be delayed on the launch of Phase 2 to really have the player base experience what the essence of Season of Discovery is all about. Enjoying the leveling, taking your time, partaking in the journey that is growing your character, progressing, exploring, discovering. These are all such crucial things in what makes an MMORPG so great, and it's something that should never be rushed and should be cherished. The man himself, Josh Greenfield, also known as Agrin, who is the head developer for Classic World of Warcraft, partook to Twitter to ask an open question. He asked, should we delay the launch of Gnomergan, the 10-player raid, by a week, or just have it open from day 1 of Phase 2? Why do you feel the way you do? Just trying to get a pulse check and some opinions to read. So first of all, we just got confirmed 100% that Gnomergan is a 10-man raid, which is a very big confirmation, by the way, to those of you who don't know. And what else is shocking is that you mean to tell me that these developers for Season of Discovery are openly asking what the players want in terms of content release for the upcoming phases? I mean, they are doing an absolutely fantastic job, and my hats are completely off to these developers. There were so many responses to this Twitter thread that mostly agreed to Gnomergan actually being delayed. Players stating, having the pressure removed to miss a reset and fall behind is a substantial quality of life which allows players to take their time and discover. Others saying, I think what makes me happy and excited about Season of Discovery is that I don't feel like I have to rush to the max level and raid log like every other state of the game feels like at the moment. I can explore the changes to a game I've loved for years. Even other super hardcore sweaty players saying, I'm a sweaty parser who will force myself to hit level 40 to get kills in on the first lockout. But man, I would love to have way more fun leveling if there wasn't a rush to 40 with so much focus on that first lockout. Please delay it a week. It's only ever been good for the game. I mean, you may call me a nerd all you want or a geek, but I get goosebumps hearing people talk about how good it feels to take their time and enjoy a good old-fashioned MMORPG, because that's how I feel also. I mean, this is what it's all about, the community coming together as one to enjoy something that's never been done before that once again, Blizzard is trying to revolutionize. For those of you that are worried about difficulty also, when it comes to Gnomergan, you should also understand that the developers are talking about this as well. Agrin states that it's important to set some very clear expectations. The raid will definitely be cleared quickly, 100%. We're not here in Season of Discovery to make hyper difficult raid content in these level up raids. It might not be easy for everyone, but hyper organized groups and comps will get it down. Which honestly, this should be a real relief to most of the player base out there, because listen, don't get me wrong, I love super difficult content in raids that require progressing and some time to put into and work through. But if you want those sort of things, these level up raids are just simply not going to be that, and that's a really good thing. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we're only level 40, and I'm sure things are going to get really crazy as we, reach those higher levels in Season of Discovery. I do think raids are going to get tuned up bit by bit in terms of difficulty, but they're definitely going to make sure that that aspect isn't overtuned so that everyone can try to partake and have a good time. They actually even reinstated this by Agrin responding to Drast, stating, there is no point to the race at all. The raid will be cleared within the hour no matter how you implement it. All it does is ruin another potential for people having a fun race. Agrin responds to this with, the race won't be much of a race for a guild like yours, but making super hard content for these level up raids is just not a goal here. You and yours may blast through it, normal players may struggle a bit, you won't. And honestly, I couldn't be happier with his response here. I myself am a player that's genuinely skilled in World of Warcraft, and I'm not saying that to be some bragger or whatever, but simply just to explain to you all that that's something that I'm not worried about in Season of Discovery. If I want a hard challenge, I'll just go to retail WoW and run the hardest content available, but that's just something I'm not interested in here. I'm interested in the journey, story, progression, discovery, camaraderie with my friends, and creating incredible memories inside of the best version of WoW that I've played in many years. So I couldn't be happier that Agron, the head developer, is sticking up for the little guys like us that are looking to just find those key features once again in an MMORPG. So I'm here for the final time, ladies and gentlemen, on this topic to ask you this. What do you think about them having a week-long delay in Gnomergan? Do you agree that it should be delayed, or do you think it should be open on day one? Let us know in the comments section below, because I'm dying to hear your opinions, and your voices should be heard. Moving on to another important topic, when it comes to the loot within raids inside of Season of Discovery, we may have a problem on our hands moving forward that I really hope the developers are going to address. What you're seeing on screen now is the epic two-handed item that can be received within the Black Fathom Deeps raid, and beside it is the Whirlwind Axe, which is easily one of the best weapons you can have as a warrior, being able to be used well within your level 40s. Another example is the Rod of the Sleepwalker that once again can be found within Black Fathom Deeps, and right next to it is the epic Staff of Jordan, which is the most iconic and powerful items you can ever obtain in Classic WoW leveling up. All four of these weapons, believe it or not though, are very similar in power, but the only difference is that the weapons and armor you can acquire from BFD can be used at level 25, while the others can be used midway through 30s, even sometimes in level 40s. The point I'm trying to make is that the items and gear quality inside of BFD is incredibly overtuned from what was normally acquired within Classic WoW. So not only are we going to be leveling up next phase much faster than we normally would, the gear we obtain is going to be pretty much negligible because nothing will be an upgrade within all of these dungeons as we level up until maybe Scarlet Monastery. And I gotta tell you, I don't see it being very fun not getting any gear upgrades while we're leveling up on our journey to 40. So right now, I feel like the developers are in a really tight spot when it comes to the regular classic loot that you're able to obtain. Should they maybe buff up the loot tables within the next set of dungeons to at least be able to keep up with the Black Fathom Deeps gear? Do they do something as crazy as dropping the item power of the gear we have now the second the phase launches? To be honest, this is something that I really don't even have an answer on how they could fix. If you have an idea, please leave it in the comment section below, but I think this is definitely going to be a problem, and once again, today is another day I'm waking up grateful that I'm not a game developer for a super tough game to make like World of Warcraft. So once again, shout out to all you guys working as hard as you can to please as many players as possible. So if you have an idea of what they could do or an opinion on it, let us know in the comment section below. Once again, with the coming of Phase 2, I'm sure we are going to get additional grinds for all of our characters. One of those grinds, though, I can strongly say with confidence is going to be your reputation with the Durator Supply and Logistics rep, which is the brand new rep inside of Season of Discovery. I'm sure you all know the key way to grind out this reputation is by looting and completing waylaid supplies by inputting certain items and turning them into a supply representative. By doing so, you actually get some really nice gear, crafting recipes, and even runes for your character. And with all this being said, we're almost positive that in the coming phases, we're going to be seeing more rewards being added to this table to keep this reputation grind relevant and constant. Don't get me wrong, I love more content for any of my characters, and especially hard-earned grinds, but not just grinds that are tedious for no reason, and it seems I'm not the only one who feels this way. A user on the forums posted a discussion titled, "For the love of a loon, remove uniques from waylaid supplies." They asked, what is the purpose of having these things being unique? Forcing the players to run back and forth between major sittings and grinding locations every time one drops. I get that carrying tons of them would just lead to the rep grind being done super quickly, but that's not a reason to only let us carry one at a time. But man, I really gotta agree with this one. He then goes on to say, at the very least, make it unique, able to carry up to 3 or something, or put a supply officer NPC in every single town that has an innkeeper. The current system is obnoxious and just time wasting, and man, oh man, Blizzard, if you guys are hearing this one, I gotta say, I think you guys are on the hot seat. I'm not cutting you slack on this one because I think the grind is great. I love farming things and I love grinding out reputations for great rewards. I mean, it gives me a reason to stay on my main character, which I never want to hop off of, but doing something like this one at a time just makes it frustrating and tedious right now instead of actually workable and really fun. I mean, maybe you could lower the drop rate to sort of compensate for this. I'm not really sure exactly, but I love the idea of at least being able to carry 2, 3, or 4 of them at one time, because that would at least make it feel better going back to town to fill multiple of them out. I don't know. Hopefully you guys are paying attention to that one. I'm not letting you off the hook there. Moving on now to the community part of our video, where we take all of your opinions and comments from below in our comment section, shout them out, and discuss them. So if you have something creative, constructive, or even innovative towards Season of Discovery that you want the developers and your fellow friends and players to hear about, let us hear about it in the comment section below so we could show it off to everybody here. Starting off first, we have Sunny Caribou stating, I think it'd be cool for a cross-phase quest chain that ultimately leads up to a legendary. For example, the Void Touch Armor quest chain gives you a chest with a Void Crystal inside, which sounds a lot like the Void Crystal that Mograine purified into light crystals to create the Ashbringer. Imagine a Gnomergan quest chain that adds to this, and then a Scarlet Monastery quest chain, so on and so forth, culminating in the player receiving something like Ashbringer. Now, I do have to admit, I love the idea of a super thought-out story that travels across all phases of Season of Discovery. I just don't love the idea of the reward being everyone getting a legendary item. I think one of the biggest mistakes they've ever made in retail WoW was everyone receiving these super incredible legendary items or artifact weapons like they did in Legion, which sadly led to those items just being less iconic due to everyone having them. But man, having maybe a class-specific quest line through the entirety of Season of Discovery, unique to every class, is something that I'm all for and would absolutely love to see. I'm not asking for some super in-depth quest line like something from Star Wars: The Old Republic, but just something to make it feel great that I chose my specific class and make me partake maybe in some more class pride. I don't know, maybe I'm just spitballing here and reaching for the stars, but definitely something to be considered for sure. Next up, once again, we have Black Cleaver stating, I'd love to see Gnomergan delayed a week. There are already lots of reasons to be quick to level cap, and getting an extra lockout or two doesn't need to be one of them. Also, I'd feel awful getting something like Totemic Recall for Shamans on a rune unless there are rune slots dedicated only to quality of life. These sort of things should be just spell books in the game. And oh man, do I agree with this one, ladies and gentlemen. I desperately want there to be some minor quality of life improvements to classes in Classic WoW, such as Paladin Blessings being longer than 5 minutes, Shaman buffs being longer as well, better mage food and water being able to be conjured, and so many other things across all classes. But the thing is I just don't want those to take up rune slots and take away from the opportunity for us to get some really awesome, unique spells to add to our classes. So maybe instead, they can add it as drops inside of the raid and spell books, or maybe even class-specific quest lines. I don't know. I think something like that would be a really, really awesome idea. Love that one. Next up, we have Any Town stating, has anyone asked Blizzard for target dummies yet? I honestly expected to see them in the halls of Ironforge or Elwynn Forest. And dude, how great would it be for there to actually be target dummies? I would love to just simply practice my rotation or something really cool while I'm, you know, standing inside of Ironforge, Stormwind, or Orgrimmar. I mean, to find out the best version of my preferred playstyle would be. I really don't like right now that the only way I could sort of test that out in a real environment is pretty much on raid night when I'm trying to do my best to parse as high as I can with my guild. I would really love target dummies inside of SOD, and I really don't see it being too complicated or much of a problem to implement. I mean, I'm sure everyone out there could agree with me on that one, that target dummies aren't bad for the game, and so hopefully that could be a thing. Finally, we have Vertigo stating, back in the day, a hybrid class was never supposed to perform as good as a non-hybrid class in terms of DPS. In EverQuest, we refer to that as a hybrid class tax, which meant if your class can heal, tank, melee DPS, or range DPS all at once, then you should never be as good at doing any of those compared to a class that can only do tanking or melee DPS. A straight, pure healer like Priest should always be better than the Shaman healing because the Shaman can do everything. And by the way, this is something that I definitely understand in the old school style of MMOs, which World of Warcraft definitely has and is definitely partaking in. I mean, we're all sitting here playing a 20-year-old game that's just being touched upon and improved, so I think it's really important to understand in terms of balance. Hybrid classes should never be on top of the DPS meters over non-hybrid classes, and this is something that I really started learning as I matured playing MMORPGs. I mean, for example, I know when I play World of Warcraft, I know to expect Enhancement Shamans should never be on the top of the DPS list. They should always be middle of the pack or maybe even below that in terms of DPS, simply because of how much utility I offer to my party and raid members. I know that Enhancement Shamans should never keep up with Hunters in terms of raw DPS. I mean, there was someone who commented the other day on our previous tier list video that they said that Ret Paladins were a really terrible DPS class and they really feel bad to play, and it really left me confused because Retribution Paladin has probably the most utility in the game in Classic WoW, even similar to Feral Druids, which have a crazy amount of utility. So just try to remember that when you're trying to pick a class, it's not all about your damage, and there's a lot more factors that come into play. By the way, also, if you want to take a second, check out that recent video on our ultimate deep dive for every DPS spec. I mean, dude, we absolutely went in on that video. We have a ton of really amazing information on there, and we even had our community manager on the show, who actually is also my brother, Lance, and we just had a really, really fun time. We're going to be making more videos like that soon, so if you guys want to check it out here, you can click on the link. I promise you won't be disappointed. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, leave a comment below for me to respond to it live here on these news videos, to have a little bit of a discussion point and talk about it. I really love seeing all your opinions on some of the topics in these videos. Shout out to Lance for answering every single one of your guys' comments. So if you want your voice to be heard, let me know about it in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to like and subscribe to get absolutely flooded with Season of Discovery content. I really want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. It is an absolute pleasure to be making content for you all. Till the very end, my name is Sky from the Comeback Kids. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.